Hello, everyone. Welcome to Banya Chat. I'm Thomas Barnes. I am here with Theo today, and we're going to be discussing the second part, following up the first inquiry, which we spoke about last week with Heavens. So, Theo, would you like to tell me a little bit about this second inquiry, second part, following the first inquiry, please?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much, Thomas. Uh, as you are aware, last week, Evans did talk about the first inquiry. The main thing we're trying to establish on the first inquiry we're trying to establish whether a person has got space, adequate space for us then generate the second part, which is now the visit. We do what we call a fact-finding visit, and that finding visit we call that part one of stage one. You see, because essentially we've got two stages that are left, which is we've got stage one and stage two, and then stage one itself is split into two: part one of stage one and part two of stage one, right? But what's the difference between stage one and stage two? The main difference is that stage one is where we're gathering facts. We're still just gathering facts, you see. And then stage two is your assessment. You see, the actual assessment. In other words, we only begin an assessment once we're happy with the facts that we've gathered about the person or about the applicant, you see. So this part one of stage one, we're really going, it involves us going to the applicant's house. Well, of course, with the COVID that's there at the moment, we might have to do like a Zoom call or something like that. But anyway, it involves going there, and we're really going there to check what was written on the first inquiry, the space that the applicants they have. It is an actual space, because we've had situations where somebody says they have space, you go there, you realize that it's not big enough. And for us to say something is big enough, the space is big enough, it has to fit at least a bed, a chest of drawer or a wardrobe, and a desk and a chair. If those three things can fit in that room, normally that room we normally consider big enough. If they can't, then that's what we end up saying, okay, I don't think this is big enough. You see, so this is what we're checking on that visit. The other thing we're also ensuring is we want to know whether the applicant, are they the landlord of the house? If they are the landlord, obviously we're going to need some form of mortgage statement which proves that they're the landlord. Or if they're not the landlord, then they're the tenant, and we're going to need the landlord consent, because landlord consent is something that's now very, very crucial, because we have had situations where, an applicant starts their application, and along the way, the landlord hears about it and then say, no, I don't want my house to be used for that. So now this is something we asked for right at the beginning. It's all part and parcel of this finding. And this is what happens with the part one of stage one. That's where we do also DBS. This is we're trying to establish whether somebody has got a criminal record or they don't have a criminal record. And you'd be surprised to know that some quite a few of the criminal records, if they happened a long time ago, there's a good chance that it won't hinder you, becoming a foster carer. See, if let's say for argument's sake, you stole a Mars bar in Morrison's some 7 years ago, and then you declare it. So long as you declare it to us today, there's a good chance that won't stop your application. Non-disclosure will definitely stop, no matter how petty a crime, how petty the crime is. Non-disclosure will stop an application. And then there are certain criminal records like ABH, which is actual bodily harm. That one, it doesn't matter when it happened, it will stop an application. Then on the other side, we've got things like the medical. A certain you do get a medical. It's a medical. A certain medical conditions which will stop again an application. Example, say an applicant is suffering from depression and they're actually currently taking medication for depression, then there's a good chance that we won't proceed. We won't proceed with the application. However, if say they were suffering from medication and they've gone for more than a year without taking the medication, there's a chance that they can be able to foster. So yeah, so there are some medical conditions which can stop, at the same time won't stop, you see. And another condition I could give is like terminal illness. If you've got something whereby they say to you, oh, you've only got 3 months to live, for example, obviously that would stop somebody. But if they just say, for example, you've got cancer, for example, and there isn't yet any sort of time frame of when the cancer is going to affect you, for example, that won't necessarily stop application. So everything, we do base everything though on medical or with our doctor, because Banyas have their own doctor, and it's our doctor's opinion that we go by. Yeah. So these are the things that can stop an application when you're trying to become a foster carer. Yeah. And then the other thing that we do on the second, this is now on part 2 of stage 1, is this is where we do the chronology, right? Where we do chronology, and by chronology, there are 3 things that we do chronology of. The first one is addresses. This is basically, we want to know your address from birth, where you were from birth right up to today. We also want to know your education and employment from birth. I mean, from the time you started at primary school right until today, whatever employment you're in now. See? And then the other thing we're looking for is significant events. This is when we say significant events, these are major things that have happened within your life or within the applicant's life. So these are things like death in the family, new relationship, especially like marriage, death in the family. So when you have a child, all those are considered to be significant events, and things like major health care, that's also considered to be a significant event. Yeah.
Okay, so so after the first inquiry, you would then proceed to so from what I understand is that after the first inquiry, the part 1 of this would be to just confirm those facts that they've said, so about the rooms and the space that they have in their household, and then following that would be a basic background check where they declare any crimes or convictions that have happened in the past, and then following that would be a further delve deeper into their history and those facts that they have said under background check. So coming back to the house inspection, what specifically are you looking for?
Okay, yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, that we're trying to check what the first inquiry, just to ensure that the space that the first inquiry said is there, we're ensuring that that's there. That's the first thing. other thing we're checking on that day as well is it's not just the space, but is it adequate space? It's not enough to just say space, but it has to be adequate, you see. And at the same time, the room itself has got its own door. It's not one of those where you have to go through another room to get to the room. So you're looking at all that. And there are other things you're also looking for when you're going there is if there are adults, other adults within the house, because if there are adults within the house, that also would mean that we would need to do a police check. Because when you're doing the police check, you're doing it for the whole house. So that house, the applicants are not the only adults in the house, and there's a further 2 adults or a further 1 adult in the house, it means straight away that we're going to need to have a police check on them as well, you see. So, and then only when we're happy with the household, we then now proceed to do the part 2 of stage 1. The part 2 of stage 1, like I said, it involves the chronology, but it also involves talking to experts. Let's say if somebody was married 3 times and got 3 children, you know that you're gonna speak to 3 different ex-partners, and maybe the children themselves as well. You see, so the school itself, if the applicants have children, we will need to get a school reference as well. If they have pets in the house, then there's a questionnaire that we fill, where we're just making sure that the pets are receiving what they're meant to receive, like the vaccinations and things like that. You see, so it is quite intrusive, this whole process. It has to be intrusive because we're trying to give you someone else's child, and we have to know everything about the person who's applying.
So overall, how long would you say that this process takes, roughly?
Okay. The part 1 of stage 1, that's supposed to take a maximum of a week. Within a week, everything should have been done by then. And then the part 2 of stage 1, that's about a month. That will take a month, unless there's something else that's stopping it. But generally, a month is enough. That would be enough for us to be able to speak to the ex-partners, to speak to the school, and do the chronology. By the way, it's not just chronology. It's also we do what we call a family tree, where where let's say it's a husband and wife. You're doing the tree of the husband, you're doing the tree of the wife, and then seeing where they meet, how they ended up meeting. You see, so like I said, it does go deep. You see, yeah.
And how, with regards to the visits, how are you doing those during, like, with the COVID situation? Like, are they still happening?
We have to do them over Zoom now. I know that there is some relaxations that's coming about very soon. So soon it's going to be possible for us to do physical visits. But for now, we have to do it through Zoom. Because the COVID is not something. It's something that's new to everybody, and it's not something where somebody can say it's gonna finish at this point. So we at Banya, we've just come to realize that we have to work along with it, because trying to wait until a certain period of time, it might never come that time. You see, so this is why we thought of started doing it over Zoom or FaceTime or something like that.
So you adapt to the situation that you're in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So after the first visit and the background DBS, you do a medical, and obviously, and you have Banya has their own medical examiner that profiles all their medical conditions, and you said that there are particular medical conditions such as possible like terminal illness and such that would prevent you from fostering. but certain things that are, as long as you're managing with your condition, and it's proven over a considerable period of time that your condition is manageable, then you can proceed from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once, if you have a terminal illness, like cancer is, something that's an example I can give. If you have cancer and but it's still that manageable stage, it doesn't necessarily stop you from fostering. But if they're now sort of given literally a time frame that, look, I don't think 3 months will last or 2 months will last. It's only when they do something like that, that's where it can stop somebody.
Okay. And then after the second assessment, the medical assessment, sorry, there's you look further into that. You look further into those initial DBS background checks, and of course, like, what else do you provide alongside those checks?
Okay. Like I was saying to you earlier on that, well, the stage one is what we call fact finding. It's finding, right? So the fact finding is not just for us as Banya. It's also for the carer themselves. So we provide that by doing skills to foster. You see, so the skills to foster, that is there really for the carer. It's really for the carer, for them to work out whether fostering is there for them, it's for them or not, because it is 3 days and it's very detailed. And the time those 3 days are up, an applicant will know whether fostering is for them or it's not for them. You see, and it's important for an applicant, to do this course in the first place, and then give an honest assessment for themselves whether it is for them or it isn't for them, because fostering, this is a commitment. So this whole 3 days, within that 3 days, by the time those 3 days are up, you realize what extent that the commitment is. You see, and then the person will say, okay, this is for me, this is not for me. You see?
Yeah. So the fact finding part and the skills to foster part isn't just about it, it's a two-way thing. It's not just about you finding about the potential foster carer. It's about them finding out about Banya and what they do and what they provide and what is expected of them as a foster carer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
That's it. So that's it. There's no one who's then surprised at a later stage or anything like that. You know what I mean? Or who can say, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that," or something like that. You see, because and that's why the training is like that. The 3-day course. Some people come out of it, raring to go. They're more than happy to, go, and then at the same time you get some who say, this is not for me. So, and that's the aim behind it, so that we proceed with the ones which we know that, okay, these ones to do it.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm just looking through chat, and there are a few questions. There's a lot of people saying thank you. This is very informative. You're doing a great job. There's also we do have a question though. In regards to the when you're doing the background check, you said that there was looking through previous partners and such. What happens if one of the questions is, suppose an ex-partner is unreachable or gives a negative reference, would this affect the assessment?
Okay. Yeah, that question I get asked a lot, but the answer to that is what happens with ex-partners is this, right? We put it into context, because ex-partner is just one reference we're going to get. But we're going to get a school reference. We're going to get personal reference of the applicants. We're going to get many other references, right? Now, if these other references are saying things which are opposite to what the ex is saying, chances are what the ex has said won't have a bearing on the outcome. You see, everything is in context. You see, but of course, if what the ex has said is identical to the other references, then that becomes a problem. That hardly ever happens. You see, everything's in context. You see, we do know that you can get exes that can be malicious. We're very much aware of that. You see, but if you're getting the ex as the school, as the personal references, which are true, plus, if we end up with 6 people who are saying identical things, I think that's the only time where we'll now say, okay, there could be something here. You see, but besides that, no.
So
yeah.
Oh, okay. So what would happen is, if you did get a negative reference, that would be it would all be comparable, like, to the other references you got.
Yeah.
So if you have the one anomaly, for example, it might just be someone not having a negative personal opinion of you. But obviously, things like, if it was a negative thing from a school, that would be taken more seriously.
Yeah, that's right. You see, because like I said, exes, you can get some exes that can be malicious. So it's easy for us to pick up one who's been malicious and one who isn't. It generally is easy.
And just curious, so go back to another thing would be, what about if you have, another question from the chat, sorry, would be, what if you have you are in a relationship with a person, but that person doesn't live within your household? Would that person have to have background checks as well?
I need to. Is applicant? Are they saying that it's them who want to foster? If it's them who wants to foster, and the applicant is I mean the person they're in relationship with comes to the house often, right? Mm-hmm. We would need to do a background check, because that's what we call a regular Vista. So we would need to do a background check on them. You see, because especially if they then intend to, like, let's say they become foster carer and then they have a child, they have a foster child, then that will, the background check will be needed even more. You see, but if it's for the purpose of I mean, what would make things easier would be for the applicant. I mean, if the partner would end up staying within that house, and then they just apply as a joint applicant, that is what would make it easier. But that's not possible. Then we'll still need a background check on them, because they're a regular visitor to the house.
So it's about how regular they are as a visitor to the house, and also how progressive the relationship is.
Yes, yeah,
right,
yeah. It definitely will be easier if he ends up staying in the house, right? If that's not yet possible, then still would need to do a background check, a DBS.
Right, okay.
on the basis that they're regular Vista.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Another question in chat is, can I foster if I have a child who lives with me and they have a criminal record? So if you're not you personally, but the child that lives with you, your own personal child, I believe that is, has a criminal record.
The answer is yes, it is possible for you to foster, but it all depends on what type of criminal record your child has. It is one of those, again, you know, like the example I gave of ABH, which is actual bodily harm. That one prevents no matter what. See, if it's something which they declare, like in this case already they're declaring, right? So if it's something they've declared and it's happened some time ago, chances are it won't stop.
So the criminal records, you can still foster if you do have a criminal record, but obviously that depends on how long ago the criminal record was, and also the severity of the criminal record.
Yes.
Yeah. And also if you declare it, because if it has to be declared, because if it's not declared, then obviously if you don't declare that, then the foster Banya would probably be asking, what else aren't they selling us if they're not declaring this?
Declaration is crucial, especially if you know there's a criminal record. It's important to tell us that criminal record, and then we then determine, or when the DBS comes, we'll then be able to determine whether we can go ahead or not. You see, because remember, what is fostering is not, it is the household that is fostering, and this is the reason why we have to consider the child that's in the house. You see, because it's the household that's fostering. It's not necessarily just the applicant. It is the applicant plus whoever is within the house. So this is why we have to consider the adult that's in there, or the child that's in the house, their opinion as well, because that's the other reason why, even if you had a child who's not even 18, who's 14 or 15, we interview them as well, just to hear their views about whether it's okay for mom and dad to be fostering, whether they're happy with that. You see, so the fostering, though on paper we're writing Mr. and Mrs., but really it's the household that's fostering.
Another question we have is with regards to, you said that there's police checks, DBS, background checks, and medical examinations. And obviously these all cost. And would the applicant have to pay for this, or is this covered by Banya?
Oh no, that's all covered by Banya.
Oh, right.
Everything's covered by Banya, even the medical, if they have them. Because with the medical, they go to their GP. The GP, some GPs charge, and then if you don't, whether they charge or not, the invoice for that comes to Banya anyway. You see, and it's Banya who pays for that, and that's the same with the DBS.
So anything that in regards to your application that you pay for, you can then talk to Banya and they will cover you for that.
Yes, yeah. That is the medical, and then because a few GPs will charge for that for the medical, and because you just take the form, the GP, and then within that form there's an address there where to tell them where to post the invoice as well as that form. You see, and then they send it to the head office, and then they get their payment. You see, some want the payment before they send it to the head office. Whichever the GPs are happy with, we go with that.
Just looking through chat to see if there's any more questions that have been asked, but a lot of them are just like saying that these are great answers, very informative, very helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, here's one. Will Banya give me a child as soon as I am approved?
I want to make something very clear. Banya actually doesn't have children in their books. All the children, they come from the local authority, right? So the obviously, the only thing I can definitely say is that there is a big shortage of foster carers at the moment. So the chances of you getting somebody are high. But of course, the other side to it is it depends on your own flexibility as an applicant. Because if you're flexible, and you're saying a child is a child, then it means that your chances of getting somebody quicker is higher. But then if you say, it's just an example, you say, I only want an 8-year-old Muslim. This is just an example, right? You're really narrowing down your choice, you see? Or you might say, I only want 4 to 10-year-old, right? And the problem with when you over restrict yourself is that if say we go on ahead and we approve you 4 to 10, it actually means that if we get a 4-year-old child, we know that that child is going to go beyond 10. Let's say they're going to get to 18. We won't consider you because you're approved for 4 to 10. You see, so a lot of it is really down to you as an applicant. The more flexible you are, the higher chances you have of getting somebody.
Yeah. And with regard going back to the medical side of things, are there any like would a medical condition or a personal condition stop you from being a foster care, or should I say restrict you from fostering certain types of people? For example, if you are a smoker or something.
A smoke. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, a smoker definitely has restrictions. You can only take children from 5 to 18. You see, they won't be able to take children that are less than 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not seeing any more questions in chats at the moment. So I think we can wrap it up there. Oh, no questions. No questions.
I just wanted to mention one more thing.
Oh, yes.
Which I forgot to talk about, the backup. So at this stage, of stage 1, that's where you also need to think who your backup is going to be. And the backup can be a family member, can be a family friend, it can be another foster carer. We at Banya, we have support groups, and sometimes within that support group, you meet another foster carer who maybe doesn't even live that far from you or something, and you end up befriending them, and then before you know it, you're backup to each other. You can be a backup for another foster carer. And then if you're single, whether a single man or a single lady, right? Then you need quite a lot of backup. You see, because so that when you're not around, your backup can sort of take over. Yeah.
Oh, we do have one more question. What would happen if I fostered with my partner or spouse, and then we split up, but I still wanted to foster?
Yeah, that has happened a few times within Banya, and all I can say is that we do take each scenario, where when it happens. But see, the ones that we have had, we've had situations whereby people have split up and they both ended up being single applicants. We've also had situations where split up and one of them ended up being so something we can accommodate, definitely.
Right. Well, I think we'll leave it there. But thank you very much. That has helped, I'm sure, a lot of people, and it will teach a lot of people certain things about what to expect when they apply as a foster carer, and what the expectations and what's needed and required of them. I would like to thank everyone on Facebook for watching. Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. They've helped us a lot. I believe we've answered them. And don't forget that we are live on Facebook every Tuesday from 12 a.m. and we're here to answer your questions about particular topics. Thank you very much.